What do you know? What do you know? Let's talk.
Brunson, born to play basketball.
3,000! History with an exclamation point!
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied. The Rockies are champions of
baseball. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to BD4, episode 1007 of the podcast. We have been busy lately with a lot of Yankees episodes. We talked Knicks, but we were only audio the last time we spoke, which was after the Knicks Detroit loss. But this one was a fun one. It was a frustrating one, but it was a fun win at the end of the day and just an excellent way to rebound after a loss they had like the one they had. It was a tough one to stomach. So to go out and to beat competition like that, and Houston's not a joke. They're a tough team in the West. I believe they're also, no, they're the fourth. They might be the fourth seed. But yeah, that just goes to show how tough that conference is, and to beat them just to feel good again is nice. This game started promising. You know, the Knicks were playing with some pace. I believe they went up by as many as double figures at one point in the first half. They fell off a bit in that second quarter. The end of it, Houston, takes to the lead, and third quarter, things got significantly worse. It's going to be a big talking point of this episode. Brunson continues to struggle with blitzing. That's been a thing recently, which is different for him. He's usually really good at reading those. There was some lineup stuff that also doesn't help that. We'll talk about that. Fourth quarter, though, Mike Brown makes those adjustments. And as we said at the top of the show, what do you know? Brunson finishes with 20 points, 6 out of 12 shooting. He found it late in the fourth quarter. Same with Cat. We'll talk more on him. 25 points. Josh Hart, not his best game. We'll also group him in something that we're going to talk about. And I think you all know what we're going to talk about. Jose Alvarado, we'll talk more about him in this one. Mikal Bridges, not his best game, but he did have moments. Mitchell Robinson, not his best game, also had moments. OG Anunoby did a fantastic job. To me, his standout was the defense. You look up, he had 20 points. That's nice. 4 steals. Just did a great job defending Kevin Durant. KD scores 30. Had to do a lot of hard work to get there. Took 26 shots to get there. He was just playing him tough. He was tight on him. He handled those isolations well late. The Knicks didn't overhelp. He was forcing KD to unfavorable spots. And just good job elsewhere. Just poking the ball loose with great help defense, digs, and stunts. And that led to transition opportunities. I thought OG was good, but man, let's avoid the elephant in the room here. And this will be a shorter episode because it's a first of a back-to-back, so it's going to have a shorter shelf life. But for 3 quarters of this basketball game, the Knicks were struggling to score the basketball. And, I hate to come on here and repeat the same thing every single freaking episode, but because I like to talk about this team on my own little shitty podcast here, I have to talk about the big talking points. And one that has continued to be a big talking point is the Knicks avoiding, let's just call it as it is, pretty much avoiding lineups that can space all 5 of those defenders out, right? And they avoided it again in this game. They need to stop doing that. And they go back to it when their back's against the wall in this game. They're down 18 points, top of the fourth quarter. Mike Brown had enough. And so he starts the fourth quarter with, he goes early in the fourth, he goes to his 5 out. It needs to stop being a desperation lineup. It needs to stop being something he doesn't go to immediately. It can't just be, all right, well, if we have to go to this, we'll go to it. And we'll talk more about why that may be. But it needs to be a regular, in my opinion. I would like for it to be a regular. But refusing to go to it, undoubtedly, it hurt the Knicks throughout this entire game, or for the first 3 quarters. You saw it. They didn't get the spacing they wanted because the paint was packed off. Cat can't get to his post-ups. Brunson and other Knicks can't get to their drives. By playing 5 shooters, it's not just about playing 5 guys who can shoot threes. It's for stuff like this. It's to open up those lanes so you can get the paint touch. You didn't get the matchups you needed in pick and roll for Brunson and Cat for a lot of this game because of that. Hart was being left open, but he lacks the confidence in his 3-point shot, so there were moments where he should have took a 3-pointer and decided to drive, gets blocked or whatever, passed out into a turnover. Like, Brunson was getting blitzed on damn near every single pick and roll for a while there. Houston was rotating off of Hart, rotating off of Mitch on the short roll. Hart's not always staying high on those outlets, so just really tough. Ball was being funneled to non-shooters and late in the clock. My voice is fucking cracking because I was screaming at this game all night. It was a reason the Knicks, again, were down 18 fourth quarter. They got outscored 37-22 in the third. The first possession of the second half, you had a Brunson Hart empty side pick and roll. Brunson goes to Hart on the roll. Alfred Sengun forces a miss on Hart at the basket. That's not an optimal shot. The big's going to be on Josh Hart. They're going to cross match when you're not 5 out. Can't be taking shots where the big prefers to be. Less than a minute later, it's a Towns Hart DHO. Houston doesn't switch it. They keep Sengun on Hart, and he's waiting at the basket for him when he comes off and turns the corner, and he's forced to pass out, and he ends up turning it over. At the 9-minute mark in the third, you have a Cat post up on a small, which is good, but Sengun helps off Hart to double the post, and he forces a miss at the basket. That is not an optimal shot. So when people, and by people I mean players who once played the game or just NBA analysts, I don't know, like inside the NBA, that crew, when they tell you that Towns needs to be more brute and he needs to take it to the post more because he's a big man, and they're just defaulting to the old school take, it's completely ignoring the concept of modern spacing. You can't just post Cat if there's not enough spacers on the floor, so the paint's going to be packed. Like a minute later, Cat's on the post again. Sengun's helping off Hart, who's 1 pass away. He helps off Hart to double the post. Cat goes to Hart. Hart has a wide open look at the top of the key, top of the arc for a 3. He drives, and he gets blocked by Sengun at the basket. That's not an optimal shot. Hart needs to take the open 3-point look there, not just go to the paint. The big's waiting for you at the paint. He's giving you that room. You're not that bad of a shooter to where you're never going to make an open shot. Take the open shot. Um, and then late in the third quarter, there's another turnover. Brunson's in isolation at the top. The Knicks have Hart and Mitch on the floor. So Houston's able to help off. Brunson drives to the paint. I think it's Thompson who brings help, picks the ball loose. Rockets get two the other way. So again, this was an issue throughout the game, but the third quarter, very noticeable. And then finally, when it gets blatantly obvious that it's time for a change, head coach Mike Brown finally caves and he says, fine, I'll go to the lineup that gets good results, that just makes sense. And the Knicks end up outscoring the Rockets 33-15 with their 5-out lineups in the fourth. Just by watching like the eye test, you could see it, the pace, the space. It was incredibly evident how much more fluid their offense was. At the 9-minute mark in the fourth, it's a Jose Alvarado cat pick and roll to bring Sengun up in action. So Alvarado gets the switch onto Sengun, who's in high coverage, gets his paint touch now, hits Shamet for his spray three on the weak side. At the 8-minute mark, the Knicks are in transition. All five guys are like spread on the floor on the break. Houston's forced to stay high to match up on the perimeter. They're still trying to, they're all up. So Alvarado is able to leak out to the corner, knocks down a three. He's wide open. And just, you watch it, like with Cat on the post in this game, it's not a coincidence he had 25 on 15. Because when Cat was on the post, it was in space without help for the same reasons, right? Just, you can't send help to him when you have four other guys who can snipe. And he gets a big basket to cut it to 2 with 3.5 left. And even some of Cat's baskets when the Knicks weren't in 5-out were clean looks because Houston still had the big on him at points. So when Cat has the big, that's what you want. He had a pick and pop three on a big. He had a clean driving kick to the corner. Hits OG. OG hits Brunson. He misses the shot, but it was a good process. And he has that trail three on Sengun, who was just in drop and transition. And also, even when the Knicks were in 5-out, there were moments where they were in 5-out and Sengun wasn't on Cat, but it was still effective because they had this space. They were able to space Houston out because they had their shooters out there. That helps Brunson, right? I mean, look at all of Brunson's isolations in this game, in that fourth quarter, I should say. Once you got to the later in the fourth quarter, the Knicks had their spacing lineup out there, so Brunson was able to take Houston on an island. Whoever it was in one-on-one with him, and they stopped blitzing, so they were just forced to stop him one-on-one. They couldn't really send help because they had to worry about the threat of four other guys who could shoot, and Brunson just went to work. It's also a nice little reminder to a certain amount of Knicks fans who I think sent some misguided criticism to their style of play after that Indiana loss, criticizing Brunson ball. When it's done right, it's not an issue. It's not an issue because he's really good at isolating. It's just the matchups that he targets need to be with the right lineups. And, that Brunson Alvarado lineup, that Brunson Alvarado lineup worked. Two smalls, that's been a narrative. But the Brunson ISOs down the stretch worked, and I wonder why. So they're just, it's frustrating when we don't get this enough. There has to be a reason for Mike Brown avoiding these lineups. It can't just be, well, Mike Brown's an idiot, because he's not an idiot. And at this point, we're going on 2 head coaches in a row where we just don't like to go to this look. Now it's something I'd thought about before, and I mentioned it, but one of our listeners mentioned this in the comment of our last video. Like, there has to be a reason, and he was saying, like, maybe he's just saving his best look for the playoffs. We mentioned that last year regarding Tibbs and switching. You know, how the Knicks they were defaulting to drop way too much last year, and we all wanted them to switch everything a lot more. And then he finally does it against Boston in the playoffs, and the Celtics can't get off a clean 3-point look, and the Knicks do what they do. Is it something like that where he's saving his best lineups for the postseason? Or is it more political? You know, is it more Josh Hart, the money he's making, he's Brunson's BFF? Is it a front office directive? It's tough for me as a fan who doesn't know shit about what's going on in there to say, but I don't think it's because they're stupid. Now, is the former an overrated talking point? The idea of saving your best look for the playoffs? You know, can you say that he shouldn't hide his best stuff for months, but instead he should be trying to refine it, get reps and stress test it, and just build habits? That's a good point too. But they went to it and they won, and I'm going to hand our game ball from the first unit to Karl Anthony Towns, who ends up with 25 points, 10 for 15 shooting, 3 for 3 from 3, and 2 out of 2 at the foul line. This was one of his best games of the year. Thank God this was needed. He's been struggling, but there is no doubt in my mind, and there shouldn't be doubt in anybody's mind, that this offense is not for him. This offense is literally made for him to be the anchor in it. It's just about the lineups that he plays with. That's going to unlock him. So, Cat has a great game. He now has 10 game balls on the season. Going to the second unit, going to give the game ball to Jose Alvarado. He now has 2 as a Knick. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He was a plus 19 in 20 minutes. I thought he was awesome. Him and Brunson, again, they were great offensively together, especially in that fourth quarter. Him and Shamet, really good defensively together. Love those lineups. He's just been such a pest. Comes from nowhere. Likes to pick your pocket from behind, get the steal, knocking down the shots. He was great. He really runs a nice pick and roll with Cat. Him, kind of like Kolek, to a little lesser of a degree, is really good at finding Cat off the pick. So Jose Alvarado, great game for him. So gets his second game ball as a Knick. And that's it. We're going to head to a quick break, and we'll wrap this up by talking about what's coming up next. Stay with us.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Episode 1007 of the podcast. The Knicks come from behind to stun the Houston Rockets at the Garden in the first of a back-to-back. Up next tonight, the Knicks have the Chicago Bulls. So not only is it the second of a back-to-back, but it is the third game in a row where they've got to face one of the Thompson brothers. So that's going to be a fun task trying to score on that. So it's the Bulls tonight, but with that said, no trivia. We're just going to go right into the next episode, which we will see you after that one on Monday morning. We've got a blizzard here in the Northeast, so we'll have some time to do more in-depth in the next step. But appreciate you all for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.